Hey everyone, I'm Eric and I'm here with Chris, who's the co-founder of No Pong. Hey Chris,
Hey, Eric, great to see you.
great to see you too. Just for a bit of context, very excited to have Chris from No Pong here. They're Australia's fastest growing natural deodorant brand, and it's quite a big name here. They've sold over 11 million tins, actually 11 million and one.
Nice, love your work.
So I stopped over at the supermarket before to pick one up, and I'm going to start trying it now as well. So I'm pumped.
Oh, I can't believe we
Um,
haven't hooked you guys up. Yeah, all right,
well,
we'll talk about that.
maybe after this call. But yeah, you guys have been operating as well for 11 years, 11 million tins. So it's no easy feat. So super pumped to get into it and chat about it. For those who don't know about you, do you want to give us a kind of general founding origin story about how it came to be?
Yeah, yeah. So No Pong happened in 2015. My wife, Melanie, was just who really is the brains behind the product and a lot of the business really, was just making all of her own skincare for herself. She was just getting really conscious about what she was putting in and on her body. Kind of seen her making these concoctions, various different stuff from face creams and some zincs and things like that. And one of them was a deodorant, and we ended up on a surf trip in Indonesia, in this tiny little fishing village. I had um, no laundry in sight, and so like I kind of ran out of clothes. I was just went in the cupboard. My deodorant roll on kind of ran out. I went in the cupboard and I was like, "Oh, this won't work, but I'll give it a go." Put it on, and then next day didn't smell. I wore the same shirt the next day, and the next
Oh
day,
my
and I
god,
was like,
she's onto something.
literally, I was like, oh man, like this, like we've got to do something with this. And so we literally went up to the little village, got a pen and paper. We've still got that book somewhere, and wrote, like, did it
That's
just a
amazing.
1 day hackathon, like came up with a strategy and filmed some really cheesy, like, elevator pitches. And yeah, and then we kind of took it back to Australia and, made some small batches. And then, um, you know, very quickly we started finding people that were not friends and family
Mm.
buying, and we're like, "What? We don't know those people. Who are they?" And then it kind of that grew, and we got some really great feedback, and yeah, it just kind of took off from there.
It's not often that somebody just decides to start a deodorant brand. So I mean, it's very cool. So when those people were starting to buy, was that you already selling online already at that point? Because from that jump of kind of creating it, then you guys spun up an e-commerce store or something like that soon after.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what we took the approach of just doing like a 1 day hackathon, and our approach was like, if this doesn't work, that's fine. We'll just, we've only lost 1 day's worth of work. So we came up with the name, like registered the URL, worked out how we were going to ship it, a bit of, kind of like copy and strategy around how we were going to, present it to people. And then, yeah, like we literally whipped up just a WordPress, a simple,
Oh, it was
WooCommerce
WordPress from the beginning.
yeah, it's WordPress. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, from the beginning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just because it's so easy to just do, an install, and get running. And yeah, just started to running that online and got getting orders. We obviously blasted it out to our kind of friends and family, and still got somewhere the very first ever post on Facebook that we did just organically on our own personal accounts, going, "Hey guys, starting a new thing here, get involved." But yeah, we quickly started to find people that we didn't know. And that's when we started to go, okay, this might have some product to market fit. That's what we were trying to validate at that time, product to market fit. And, you know, had a couple of projects before that, you try and bump start into life, and they just didn't have product to market fit. And it's a real hard slog. So, that was a really important thing for us to establish in those really, really early, like weeks and months, is there a customer, that wants what we've got?
And I can imagine at that time, the market was very much dominated by Lynx Africa. Something that's
Yeah, with links. Like, I'm not going to go and name names here.
no, no, no.
But we
It's
actually,
not for me. It's not about putting shade on any of those brands. It's just that like I just remember every guy when I was growing up just smelled the same, which was Lynx Africa. Yeah, 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 yeah. No
um,
shade, no shade. It
yeah,
smells good.
yeah, yeah.
It was just
No,
overdone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there are some enormous and powerful brands in the deodorant space for sure, and I think that is one of the things that we're kind of quietly proud of is that a lot of those early customers came to us from traditional deodorants, and they'd tell us about it. And they go, oh, I've been using this deodorant and this deodorant, and they never really worked. But No Pong was super effective. And yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, little thing we're quietly proud of, just all of the,
That's
you know,
I mean, it's definitely something to be proud of. I guess going on figuring out that product to market fit as the brand started to grow. When did it change from just an idea to something? Oh, we've actually got something here that we need to see if we can take it to where its potential.
yeah, look, it happened pretty quickly. Our kind of, we were spending a little bit on marketing, and it's like anything, I guess, when you just it's a bit like a big heavy boulder, and you got to push it really hard to get it going. It's like once you start to get it moving, like you can just start to tap it along. So we started to see those. We were spending heaps of money, making hardly anything, but we could see that there was momentum here. And then the line started to cross, and then we're like, okay, now it's actually starting to run. And kind of we're getting you know better efficiency out of our marketing spend, and it was starting to work as a business. And that happened pretty
Mm.
quickly. I'd say in the first few months, we kind of knew there was
Oh,
something there.
really? Okay, that's
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
That's much quicker than I would have expected.
At that stage, we definitely weren't replacing our income, but we were like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
right.
true.
The numbers are starting to make sense. This is
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's a customer base here, and things are starting to,
Mm,
to kind of work as you'd expect, rather than, just being a heavy boulder that never got lighter,
mm,
which
mm,
can
mm, mm.
happen too. You just constantly, literally, like a dung beetle on some projects. And so you just got to know when to kill those ones, I think, quickly. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
got to give it the right amount of time, but also not like sunk cost fallacy where you kind of just because you've invested so much time, you got to keep going. But no Pong wasn't that, which was
Like,
good. Um,
yeah.
were there other natural deodorants on the market like available en masse, or is it kind of like you kind of go to a farmer's market vibe and pick up your natural deodorant that the person that you know makes?
Yeah, there was a bit of both, I think. There was a couple of brands that were kind of there around the same time that we were. But, honestly, like we didn't really do much market research, and we still don't, to be honest. Like we kind of put the blinkers on, run our own race, don't spend too much time looking over the shoulder, because if you do, you spend all your time looking over the shoulder. So, we just took the approach from the outset. And, in those first few months, I think we realized that, and from previous businesses, that if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And so, customer love became our first value, and it still is our
Hmm.
number one value, because we just realized that we wouldn't be here at all without customers. So we just took the approach of, focusing on customer feedback, what customers want, and really trying to steer the business in that direction, rather than, focusing on competitors. That they'll do what they do, we'll do what we do, and yeah, just
That's and
focus.
it's so true, especially when you're like entering into a market where like all the players are humongous, like they're owned by probably multinational companies with like marketing budgets, that are just humongous. It's like there's no point in comparing because you'll always feel like, well, we can't compete. We can't compete. At least at the
Yeah,
beginning. I'm sure you guys now. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but you're sitting on the supermarket shelves next to a lot of these big players. So
yeah.
that's amazing. But yeah, you can't be kind of comparing yourself too much to them at the beginning. Um, yeah,
No, no, and we honestly didn't. We thought, like, if we got probably 1% of the deodorant market share in Australia, we'd be home and
yeah.
hosed, and we've probably beaten that by quite a bit by now. But yeah,
Do you find that with something like deodorant, it's something that's like pretty close to home? I imagine it being similar to something like toothpaste. Someone who's using, let's say, Colgate, you're not going to give them some Oral B, and then they're going to just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm converted." So I wonder, like, is it with your customers? Is it kind of like they try it once and then they flip kind of vibe, or yeah, or is it someone that's looking for it? How does the transition come from somebody who's using Lynx Africa?
yeah. Look, I think the main thing that people are surprised at is the effectiveness of No Pong.
Mm.
That was the common feedback in the early days. It's still common feedback we get now. It's simple to use, you're easy to apply, but it actually works. And I think that's just common. Like, I mean, you buy deodorant, you don't want to be there like 3 in the afternoon, catch a whiff, and you wonder if it's you, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's about yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's about whether the product actually works. So yeah, I think that's been a kind of cornerstone of the business. And look, we named it No
nice,
Pong. We're pretty straight shooters. Designed to do what it says
nice.
on the tin.
Is No Pong, is that an Australian kind of thing, or is that everything? Is that like
It's
the
definitely a British Aussie kind of slang.
British Aussie? Yeah, British
Yeah,
Aussie
yeah,
slangy.
British Aussie slang. Yep. Yeah, probably it doesn't resonate quite as well in North America, and
Mhm.
Europe. There's so many different languages that it probably
Yeah.
just won't make any sense at all to anyone.
Yeah, yeah. True, true. And then I guess back on the customer love point, I did check out your reviews, and I think you guys have stayed true to that because honestly, the reviews were pretty amazing. I think everybody was just obsessed, and they were coming in. They were. I was like, wow, there's a lot. Like they had been coming in over the past couple of days. They were all pretty recent. I think I saw one where they just maybe one out of 100 where they weren't really happy, and
Yeah,
that's going to happen, of course, with everyone. I think the product may have been good, but it just wasn't for them or whatever the reason is. But it was impressive that you guys have kind of stood to that because, yeah, it was for a It's like it's deodorant. Like most people, you wouldn't expect people to leave like a review for deodorant. It's just kind of one of those things you get from the pharmacy and move on with your life.
yeah,
But just to see people being so pumped, and I was just like, okay, you guys have definitely built something more than just this product. Well, the product's amazing, but there's something more as well.
yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely. Like it is pretty crazy. You do think about it as just one of those things. It doesn't take much, mental space
Yeah,
in your head or life.
yeah,
But yeah, we definitely have some customers that are pretty like you know pretty pumped on the product, and also like a community. So we've got a little private Facebook community where we've got some really awesome customers that kind of chat and chat with each other. It's like we're kind of involved in some of the conversations, but they're definitely it's a community where they're kind of contributing with each other, and yeah,
amazing.
it's definitely a yeah, I mean, another thing is like we find a lot of people getting either their friends or their partners, onto No Pong. Like, they'll start with, one person in the house and then it'll be the whole household. And yeah, so
Again,
definitely,
for something that's so personal with like your deodorant, I think there's no ad on TV, Google ad, you even UGC content that's going to be more powerful than like someone that you trust, like a family or a friend member being like, "You got to try this," or you smelling them and being like, "Wow, you smell amazing. What's going on?" Like last week you
yeah,
stunk. Now you smell amazing.
it's like the gift of freshness.
Yeah, the gift of freshness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Amazing. So you guys have been operating now for, as I said, well, it's 11 years. Has there been, I guess, a plan from the beginning which you've stuck to, or has this plan and has the strategy kind of evolved as the business has grown?
yeah, we were joking with one of our coaches the other day that we don't even know how to do a business plan because we've never done one. But
Okay. All right.
yeah, no, but like semi in joke. But I think when a business is really small, they're kind of very fragile things. Anything could take you down, and you have a website outage, and then you can't make any sales, and
Yeah.
and they're fragile. I think it's very much similar to kind of growing a plant or a garden. We used to love gardening. Back in our days in Sydney, actually. And when a little seedling is very small, it's very fragile. You need to give it what it needs, the right amount of food, water, light, to get it to a point where it's strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet and won't just blow over in the wind. You know, and a business is very much the same, I think. So it's just recognizing what business needed, listening to customers constantly, and shaping the business to what our customers were telling us that they wanted, and then on the back end of us, like what we'd have to give the business what it needed to you know work operationally from a product perspective, from a finance and reporting perspective. So yeah, definitely the first few years were growing, the systems and putting those things in place, and probably less of a business plan and more of, kind of growing it literally. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're definitely now at the stage where we're kind of starting to actively plan, for our next stages of growth.
Nice. And then since it is a brand and a product which is so focused around the customer, how like along those 11 years, like how has customer feedback shaped and changed the product and the business?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we pretty much don't release a product unless we've had customer feedback on it. Customers will shape our feedback on new formulations or new fragrances, and then what we'll often do is a small run. Again, we still want to validate product and market fit. On new products, we treat it as anything. If people don't want it, we don't want to make it. So that's no good for anyone. So we will run a kind of limited edition. We'll test it. We'll always get like literally survey, get feedback
Mm,
from the market, and then then launch it as a ongoing product. And I think that's an approach, particularly the supermarket guys have appreciated, because when we
mm.
put something forward in a range review, for example, like it's tested. There is a customer there for it.
Interesting. One thing that's just so fascinating to me, it's a bit of a sidestep. You don't live in Australia full time now, right?
No, no, we don't. No, we don't. We were living in Australia. We were in Sydney when we started the business. Melanie was working. She's a midwife as well. She was working in a hospital in Sydney, and I was working in some media agencies down in the CBD of Sydney. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and we reasonably soon after starting No Pong, like I'd say 6 to 9 months, Melanie took up a volunteering gig in Tanzania. And so we
Nice.
picked up our lives, moved to Tanzania, continued to run the business.
It's a fully remote business. How does that shape how you've decided to grow and run the business? Because obviously, the first thing would be if you run a business from one location, you're obviously going to get an office so that when you hire team members, they can come to the office and, at least there might be some remote options, but there normally is at least a place of business that everybody can come to, especially if there's going to be packaging and supplying and things like that. So I guess it's fascinating to me because I don't think there are I don't know how many like deodorant and direct to consumer brands there are that are remote, but how has that kind of shaped how Nopong has grown and the decisions that you've made? Because I assume
Yeah.
they would have been very intentional.
Yeah, they were very intentional. Look, we had to find ways that we could kind of scale a business and grow without being physically there. So that was, part of our early day challenges, like how do we fulfill, mail logistics and get order shipped? How do we kind of manage manufacturing and get that scaled up, but using our formulations. So we've kind of found some external ways of doing that. And having acts like, I mean, most of our team is remote today, but we also
Yeah.
do have a warehouse. So we do have like our own warehouse with team that go in there every day, that are kind of making sure orders get out the door, making sure we've got some office management stuff up there as well, some admin. Those guys are awesome. So we do have some. It's a mix now, but I think it also
Mm,
does. Um, mean that you've got access to people like all over the place who are like
that's true.
guns that you might not have access to if you were constrained to a physical location. So that's
Hmm.
definitely a benefit. And I think during COVID, which was obviously a difficult time for everyone, we were already fully remote, so nothing really
Mm,
changed for us in terms of the way we worked. So that was
mm,
kind of one of the nice things about COVID, I guess. But from a business perspective, it
true.
didn't really impact us.
That's interesting. And do you think like the remote aspect has been in general like a constraining element or the element that's actually made Nopong what it is and kind of instrumental in your success?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't say it's constraining. I wouldn't say it's instrumental. It's just how we built it.
It just is how it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just how we built it. I mean, what it does mean is that we have had to focus extremely hard on culture. Um,
Mm,
if everyone's remote, like no one, you're not sitting next to someone. You can't hold them accountable for something you can't just go and have a chat with them or a coffee at the water cooler, in the
mm,
kitchen. So like, culture and maintaining that culture, I think has been, something we've put a huge amount of time and effort thinking about and I guess implementing. We've got a really clear set of values and sub values and behaviors that I guess sit higher than the law, really. We've got policies, obviously, but I would love to be in a world where we just didn't need any policies at all. Obviously, there's OH&S and a few, stuff like that for warehouses. But if you could get rid of all policies and just have the values, because everyone was, acting in the best interest of the business, helping each other succeed, focusing on the customer, things like that. That's the ideal world I'd love to get
Yeah,
to.
and then you have to meet somewhere between, like, ideal and reality. Just for context, how big is the team?
There's just over 20 of us now, and we're hiring a couple of people at the moment. So yeah, it's gotten to that point where it's a good sized team. We've got some really great people in each of the pillars of the business. We kind of break a business, as I guess most businesses would fall under, 6 main things that they do: sales, marketing, product, finance, operations, and people. So we've
Nice.
got kind of good people running each of those. We've got enough people now to kind of, for those pillars to run, which is awesome.
Mhm. And how has yours and Melanie's role as the co-founders, obviously starting as a two-person hackathon situation, how have your roles evolved?
Well, look, Melanie and I have very complementary skill sets, which has been great as a husband and wife team. We kind of live and breathe it 24/7 ultimately. But she is very, very strong analytically, operationally. She's the kind of mastermind of the product. And she's amazing with people. I guess her midwifery background, and kind of she's got a science degree in neuropsychology, so she kind of understands how people think and behave. So
Mhm.
much better than I do. And but on my end, I kind of have a bit of a marketing background, probably a little bit more on the tech side, and we're both across
Nice.
finance. So yeah, we kind of split the business like that. But yeah, in terms of the day to day, we definitely have an amazing team in each of those areas, and like our goal is to hire people that are better than us, at
Yeah,
things, and we definitely, have some people that are way better than us at some of the things that we used to do. So, that's the goal, and we're kind of handing more and more responsibility and ownership to the team these days, which has been great, and we're trying to think a bit more strategically about that long term planning and vision.
amazing, amazing. So, I guess to move into your expertise, which is marketing, what have been the, I guess, most important marketing channels for No Pong in terms of growing your business to where it is today?
Yeah, well, look, I guess like a lot of brands, and 10 years ago, I think the market was quite different. Like, we started with some Facebook ads and some Google ads. And one of the things that we noticed pretty quickly was that because there was no search volume for No Pong, it just didn't exist
Yeah,
as a term. So we were running some Facebook ads and noticed that we were starting to see people searching for No Pong on Google ads. Are like, oh, wow, that's kind of like a virtuous circle that's happening. So, we obviously built that. But I think we realized over time, you can only build a credible brand. You can only get so far running Facebook ads and Google ads in terms of trust and credibility. So I guess over time, we just started to realize that, there was other channels that we needed to focus on, and we needed to get beyond the ad in a way. We needed to kind
yeah,
of start building a community, and rather than just kind of like blasting ads at people, having two-way conversations with them on those channels. So, it definitely was not at the time. Actually, one of my friends worked at Facebook and saw that we were replying to everything, every single comment,
all the
every
all the Facebook comments. Yeah,
yeah, literally everything. She's like, that is not best practice. Like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, well, we care. Like, everybody here, has had an opinion, good or bad, and we're going to make them feel recognized and heard, and not just you know, just a comment into the void. Just that know that we are here, that we're real people behind it, and I guess that's kind of grown. We've now got kind of a private Facebook community. We've still got all of those kind of online communities that we kind of interact with. In fact, a team that kind of looks after that now. And then outside of that, other marketing channels that we are using today, I guess more focused around brand building. If you looked at our split between like the long of it, call that brand building, and the short of it, call that direct response. The long of it part is, at least 60% of, of where our budget goes these days. And that's things
So the
like
long
TV.
is the longer yeah, the longer it is like all those paid ad channels.
Yeah, paid ad channels. Yep, paid ad channels, whether it's like experiential in person stuff, TV. We run some TV marketing, or, some retail out of home, focusing in around supermarkets and just trying to, get out of the feed, in,
Yeah,
so yeah,
in real life. Yeah, yeah.
in real life. Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. And then to talk about the supermarket, because I think that is super interesting. And that's, I actually picked up, I of course would have preferred to order it online from you guys. And the next one will be an online purchase 100%. But so convenient for me to be able to stop by. You guys are in Coles and Woolworths, I think both of them.
Yep.
Which are for anyone who's outside of Australia, are the two biggest supermarkets here. If you're going shopping in Australia, it's likely one of those two, maybe Aldi, but these are the big ones you want to be in. I mean, how does that is that something that was the plan from the beginning? I mean, or at some point did that? Yeah, it's fascinating to me because I would not have the slightest idea about how you start selling something in a supermarket.
It's yeah, that's an interesting one. It was never the plan. In fact, there was quite a lot of resistance when the opportunity first presented itself. I personally was like kind of crapping myself about the idea. We had a pretty good online business at the time, and I was like, oh, these guys are just going to chew us up and spit us out. And we also had we at that time we had quite a few wholesale customers that like tended to be independent health food shops or pharmacies that could be part of a chain, but were still able to make their own
Mm,
buying decisions, franchisees.
mm,
Um, and
mm.
obviously, we didn't want to upset them by going into a
Yeah,
giant supermarket. And, you can imagine some of the things going through our head, people thinking we've sold out or like,
yeah.
these kind of things. And so there was quite a lot of resistance, a lot of thought went into it. We thought they were going to cannibalize our online sales. So it was not a decision we've taken lightly. But, I guess we started small in there with 3 SKUs. And then
Yeah.
that kind of grew. Every range review, we've kind of added SKUs, even though the buyers, generally speaking, have been trying to shrink the amount of SKUs that they have ranged. Um,
Mhm.
by kind of more than 10% each year, we've been able to kind of grow. So that's resulted us in
Mm.
us growing growing share of shelf, which has been pretty
Yeah.
awesome. And yeah, we've managed to grow that more than any other brands in the last 5 or so years in supermarkets. So it's actually worked out really well. Probably about 50% of the business is now wholesale,
Oh,
including Woolies and Coles,
yeah.
and including all of those independent um,
That's
stockists
amazing.
that still buy from us, and then 50% is the key, kind of e-commerce. So it's a nice split. You know, don't not having all your eggs in one basket or the other.
Interesting. And I guess the thing is that, of course, it's another way of distributing the product. But I think the thing about the supermarket, which is so powerful, is that it is marketing too. Because now suddenly somebody who's just going and doing their shopping, they might not buy it on their first one, they might not buy it on their second one, but especially if you decide to run a sale, they might be like, okay, I'm about to run out of deodorant, let's give it a crack. And so it is marketing too, very powerful marketing channel.
Totally, totally. Look, share of shelf space is something we've been able to grow, over time. And so I think in Woolies, we've got like 9 SKUs, which takes up a fair bit of the shelf. And considering that we're like 60 millimeters wide and very small
Yeah,
footprint, we're not that visible to start with. So it definitely is visibility. Um,
yeah,
in terms of
true.
promotion, like, we try and run as little price promotion as we can actually, and try and sell as much as we can at full price, and it's been working. And you see some of our, we get the scan data from other brands in there, and they might be on like 26 weeks a year of discounts where
Of sales.
it's almost half, that's half the year.
Yeah.
Every other week they're on a discount, and we're on like 8, 1/3 the amount type of thing, and still managing to beat some of these guys. So that's pretty cool. And I guess that comes back to just building a brand that, customers love, and, really kind of, I guess, making sure that customer love value is at the heart of everything that we kind of say and everything that we do, and, how we interact with customers.
Nice, nice. And then in terms of the, I guess, interplay between the supermarket and then the e-commerce customer, I'd imagine that you would prefer that if they were to buy it in the supermarket on the first time, maybe they would transition to becoming an online customer and buy from you direct. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Maybe you want them to purchase from supermarkets all the time.
Yeah, look, we've spent a lot of time thinking about like attribution and like how do we can't obviously don't have the same resolution as we do using Metric to what we can see, with our
Yeah,
online sales. But I think that they're kind of different shoppers. Look, there's definitely some overlap, and without question, there's customers that have started with us and then gone to
yeah,
supermarket because it's more
both
convenient.
ways, more convenient.
Both
Yeah,
ways, and we see the comments. We see people message us, "Oh, hey, saw you guys in Woolworths. I get it from Woolworths now." Without doubt, they've gone the other way as well. They've seen us in
yeah, yeah.
Woolworths. It's given a bit more credibility to the brand. And one thing that we're kind of focusing on right now a little bit more is just to make sure we've got a different set of products on the website that we have in supermarket, and kind
Interesting.
of, you know, and also turning the website into a bit more of a destination rather than
Mm,
just a catalog, which a lot of
yeah,
e-commerce stores are, so kind of throwing like online events, or,
cool.
limited edition drops, things like that. So yeah, trying to, trying to segment what we do in each channel. Yeah, that way.
Interesting. So that yeah, there's a reason more than just price or convenience to shop 'em in one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then, okay, I guess to maybe then transition to talking more about the website, and maybe a bit more nerdy and tech side of things. You guys are on WooCommerce. I guess when you chose Woo at the beginning, the e-commerce landscape was wildly different. I mean, Shopify was probably around, but much smaller and not the beast that it's become today in e-commerce. How have you found WooCommerce as your platform for your journey? And maybe has there been a point where you thought maybe we should be moving platforms, or are you happy with it and it serves what you need?
Yeah, great question. Woo was so easy to get started with, and for the first couple of years, I'd say it was great, cranking for us. Really, I just love the fact that you could customize everything fairly easily. You could add functionality without, I guess having to add plus subscriptions on top of things. But we did get to the
Mm,
point there in our early days because we started as kind of a self-hosted thing, where like our hosting couldn't keep up with the size of the database was growing because of the sales were going up, and we were getting like a bit of website crashing behavior, and
yeah.
and that yeah, it was pretty hectic actually. And we did look at Shopify, and BigCommerce. Spent about 2 years of
Whoa. Okay.
yeah, doing due diligence on these platforms. Spent about 100 grand or more, on dev with Shopify devs and BigCommerce devs, to try and replicate ultimately what Woo does out of the box. And we came full circle and we ended up back with Woo. We found, so I'll give a shout out to our current devs, Cal, who are amazing, and they literally
Nice.
transformed
Mitch and
our
Dom.
website. Mitch and Dom,
Mitch
legends.
and
Yep,
Dom's
and the
Cal. Yeah,
whole,
we love them.
and Matty as well. Yeah, total
Nice.
legends.
Love
So
it. Love it.
um, yeah, they transformed our business more or less overnight, got it stable, got it running, got us on some proper infrastructure. And I think the thing that we love about Woo now is literally, I do believe that anything is possible.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't require, another monthly subscription of whatever plus a clip of the ticket on revenue to just add
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
simple like recurring subscriptions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah, yeah. So we just found, I mean, it's a little bit like Android versus iOS, I guess. iOS is great for some people, it's great apps, but you pay for everything. But WooCommerce obviously being a bit more open source, it's a bit more like Android, more customizable, and you can just do stuff. You can do what you want to do without those restrictions. So yeah, so it's good.
So you're locked in on Woo.
We're locked in on Word. Yeah, yeah, love it.
Love that. Nice,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like the power of Woo can sometimes be its shortcoming, and I guess that's what you experience is like you were able to get it up and running, but you might not realize that, so the database is starting to accumulate orders and, yeah, and then one day it's just kind of like bang, and then you start getting crashes and things like that. And if you don't have the right team or somebody who knows how to handle these infrastructure things, it can be a bit of a panic state where I guess that's where something like Shopify might handle that a bit better. But when you know what you're doing and you have the right people behind you, boy, is it powerful and amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, we've gone from yeah, holding our head in the hands, literally,
Yeah,
when things were crashing, to now believing anything is possible. And yeah, the guys at SourCal are just so awesome to work with as well. And yeah, we've just re- deployed a bit of a theme change. Site's going faster than ever. So yeah, just yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
nice.
love it.
A- And I saw on your site, I'm not sure how long you've been running subscriptions for, but it looks like you have a subscription for No Pong deodorant. How long has that been running for now?
Yeah, look, almost since the outlet, like in the first few months, I think we set up
Oh,
monthly club. Like,
oh, so
yeah,
I had no idea. Okay.
yeah, if you cast your mind back down to 2015, I guess it was like subscriptions were all the rage. There was Dollar
Yeah, yeah,
Shave
yeah,
Club, and it was in
yeah,
that day
yeah.
where everything was
Who
a
gives a who gives a crap as well?
who gives a
Yeah,
crap. Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
but honestly, I think what we found is we first of all we've never really promoted subscriptions. We've just had them organically on the site, and people that want them jump on there
Can
for the
get them.
convenience. Um, it's a little bit cheaper as well from a shipping perspective, but um, it hasn't really been a focus for us for the business. And as we've launched new products, like we find people just jump off subscription and they just want to try a new product, or on different size, or so
Mm,
it's definitely some. I mean, we each month, like, we kind of have a look at our customer base using Metorik, and we see people that have just ticked over their 100th order. And so, I don't have maths on the top of my head. I should be able to do this, but 100 orders divided out by, 12 months is, we've got people literally back to I think end of 2015, that are still ordering today.
yeah,
Um, and typically they're all monthly club people.
yeah.
And yeah, so we see that, send them a little video, send them a little gift,
Love
which
that.
is nice.
I
Yeah.
mean, it definitely is a product that lends itself to a subscription model. I guess in the same way that with Who Gives a Crap, you know, you you got to go to the toilet every single day, depending on the amount of members you have in your house. It's not rocket science to figure out how often
Yeah.
you need toilet paper delivered. And I guess probably in a similar sense with deodorant too. Is there? Do you guys think that maybe you might move the subscriptions to a bit more of a primary spot on the website, or are you kinda happy with how it lies?
I think we're kind of happy with where it lies. I think one of the things that people do need to be able to do, and actually, like, I mean, some people do, some people don't, but some of those orders that we've got still on monthly club from 2015 are literally still buying No Pong original. I've never tried anything
Love
else.
it.
Because when we'll pull the list of orders up in Metorik and we'll go, okay, right, what do we reckon this person's favorite tin is? And some of them have tried everything. They've switched their subscription over,
Yeah, yeah.
and some
Yeah,
of them are just die hard for it. So I think for us, the subscription's there, like, for the customers that want it,
yeah.
um, and for people that just want flexibility and to try a bunch of other things, then um, that's also there. So it's again just about giving the customers what they want.
Nice. Alright, and then since you brought it up about analytics and metric, let's let's have a quick chat
Yeah, yeah.
about that. So I'm curious to hear, in general, how have you guys used metric? And yeah, what do you when you're in there, what are you looking at?
Oh, everything. Metorik has just given us so much visibility over so many dimensions of the business that we never had before. Definitely not with the Woo reporting or any other analytics
Mm,
platform. Um,
yeah.
these days, what we're actually spending a lot of time, so there's obviously customer behavior, there's some functional stuff that the customer love team, jump in and look at someone's, past order history,
Mhm.
what they've been ordering, obviously defining segments and different cohorts that we might want to kind of remarket to, or even like, if something's gone, like let's say there's shipping error or something, has happened that, we want to kind of rectify, and we can find that cohort of customers really easily. In Metorik, with all the segmentation ability that's in there. We've used it to define audiences for email sends. Like, I mean, it's like truly never,
So,
there is no end to this list. But what we've been finding really awesome lately is the MCP and pulling that through into our Claude. Yeah. So I think being able to pull context from a whole bunch of different data sources into one place just
yeah.
allows, that's a game changer. So I mean, let's say you've got Google Analytics data over here, you've got, let's say Tracksuit, our brand tracking data there. None of these things speak to each other. Then we've got website sales over here as independent platforms. They don't speak to each other, but if we want to do some analysis and compare all three, bam, we can pull it through. The MCP will go and grab all the Metorik data, and we can do some amazing things now analytically, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, another just day-to-day thing that we're using the MCP is to audit our 3PL shipping invoices. Our Canadian 3PL dumps out, I think we had one invoice list that was 80,000 rows in Excel. You can imagine trying to match that against orders in Excel, like with pivot
Wow.
tables and VLOOKUPs. So you could do it, but you'd be there for hours. So we just wrote a little skill. It's, pulls the order data out of the MCP, matches it line by line, tells us if we're overcharged or there's duplicates. So yeah, the access to data from Metorik is awesome.
It's honestly so fascinating and amazing for me, and I'm sure the rest of the team after to hear this, because it's such a big app and we're often building these features and things. We don't run an e-commerce store, we run a SaaS, so we're obviously trying to obviously talk with customers, but also try to foreshadow what people will be using it for. But I mean, I can guarantee you when we were launching, the MCP stuff, we weren't thinking, oh yeah, a use case for this is somebody's going to pull in their like 3PL invoices and then be pulling in like the order data from Metorik and then, writing a skill in Claude to essentially just check to see if they're being charged the correct amount. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's fascinating to hear and a testament that we need to talk to more customers just to hear what people are cooking up, because it's amazing.
Oh, it's like, it's a real game changer when you're pulling all of these data sources together and your own context. There's so many use cases. I mean, find something new to use the Metorik MCP with every day, pretty much. Yeah, it's
Love it,
awesome.
love it. And I think it is interesting for us as like a reporting app. The landscape is shifting a bit with AI, and I think for us, we want to try to remain relevant. And if, for example, like looking at your dashboard isn't going to be the format that people are going to be interacting with their e-commerce data with in the future, we're, I guess, trying to remain relevant. And so it's good to see that, customers like you kind of embracing that MCP workflow. Because yeah, who knows what it's going to look like 5 years from now as these tools become more powerful. But we hope to
Yeah.
still be there at that point too, along
Oh, I
with you
think you
guys.
guys will be there. I think there's certain businesses that won't, but I think you'll definitely be there. And look, I'm still logging into the platform every day, looking at our
Yeah,
dashboard, and just because it's a quick, easy way to, if I don't need all of that other context, and some of those analysis things, projects do take time. You're running, you're burning a bunch of tokens, and it's not just like an instant grab. So, Metorik, it's
true that.
fast. Is like, you can just jump in there, run a
Yeah,
quick segment, check the dashboard, and know, like, for
yeah.
example, what our daily split between wholesale, direct versus online versus what products people. It's like that's still super important.
Mm.
Just have as a radar every day. So yeah, the whole team in marketing certainly, and logistics actually, would be in Metorik every day.
Well, and if you don't want to burn through too many of your own Claude tokens, we now have our own kind of the Tory sidekick chatbot within Metric too, so you can burn out tokens instead whilst you're
Nice,
chatting with your
nice.
data within the app.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I've seen Tori there, but I haven't actually used Tori yet.
I was going to circle back to what you just mentioned before, which is so you've how many different team members have access to Metric and are using it for different things?
Yeah, yeah. So look, I don't have to look in the quite a lot of the team. I'd say like more than
Ballpark,
half.
ballpark. Yeah,
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 I'd
yeah.
say more than half. But so like, definitely everybody in customer love, everybody in marketing, including our graphic designers, and everybody in logistics. So everyone in our warehouse or that has anything to do with shipping and or getting a product from A to B. So, and obviously different use cases for each kind of department. Customer love team are looking at order history and, kind of like the products that people bought, something that they may have last bought that they had an issue with. They're trying to just locate data. Um, Logistics team are looking at kind of, orders or exporting stuff for their different analytics projects or, reporting. And then, marketing's probably more around pulling segments, looking at different behaviors, looking at, all of the crazy amount of reports you guys have got in there. We're looking at some, cart behavior at the moment, using some of the cart
So
reporting, which is good.
there's something for everyone. Maybe
Well,
that should
that's
be the
literally
tagline. Metric, something
yeah,
for everyone.
yeah. I mean, literally half the business. Yeah, it is. There
Yeah,
is something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing. All right. Well, it
awesome.
gives me a lot of joy to hear that everybody's getting a lot out of the product. So I guess to close up, um, what are the plans for No Pong? For the rest of this year, the rest of next year, something like that. Things that you, of course, want to share, not
Yeah, yeah,
secret
yeah.
company internal plans that can't be leaked to the world.
Yep. Well, look, we are definitely planning to grow. We're growing the team. The business is growing. I think we've done a few fun things this year actually that have just shown us, you got to try new things to know what something looks like. We've run a couple of big, like kind of, let's say in person, as in we've got our whole team down to the warehouse and run kind of, some birthday events, which have gone really well. So we kind of want to do a bit more, you know, website event stuff, some physical events, and we're working on some new products, which are really exciting in some similar but complementary categories, which we're really excited about, kind of
Cool.
working through. Yeah. So that'll be good. Had some good feedback from initial kind of tests, limited edition runs that we've been doing. So yeah, definitely planning ahead, and then just thinking what that looks like to scale those pillars of the business moving forward and through 27
Nice.
and beyond. Yeah.
And beyond. Sounds very exciting. And then last thought to wrap it all up, I guess knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? One thing, one big thing, starting No Pong again, or multiple, if you can't pick
Yeah,
one.
no, you
Yeah.
know what? I probably wouldn't have. I probably shouldn't say this because I might not work, but I probably wouldn't have sweated the small stuff so much. Like we paid so much
Pun,
attention to
pun, pun
detail, and
intended. Pun intended,
but
right?
yeah, no, actually, there was no
Pun
pun
intended.
intended. But I think yeah, probably would have told myself to chill out and it'll work out okay. But at the same time, I think has been important to put a huge amount of focus on the small stuff, because that's the devil's in the
Yeah.
detail largely.
Yeah.
So
So it's kind of like chill, but don't chill too much. Don't chill too much because you need to actually like grow this business.
correct. Yeah. But
I like it. I
yeah,
like it.
yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Great. All right. Well, I mean, I've really enjoyed chatting. I've learned a lot. If I'm going to be starting a similar competing deodorant natural brand, I know exactly what to do and the playbook. So thank you, thanks
There's a
you very much.
roadmap.
But yeah, good. But in all seriousness, I hope for anybody listening, the way that you guys have grown it is so unique that I think there's so many different lessons to be learned and applied to many different types of businesses. So hopefully people will be able to get something out of it. But yeah, thank you for taking the time to chat with me. Yeah, hopefully we can do it again at some point.
Thanks so much, Eric. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Really great to catch up
And
and chat. And yeah, no, I
and it's the
appreciate it.
third time I'm popping this out, but I'm pumped to get stuck into this, and I'm going to be traveling soon as well. So I'm actually super chuffed about how small this is. So I might take a
Yeah,
couple with me.
awesome. It travels well.
Amazing.
Yeah,
All right.
cool. Checks in the mail. Thank you so much.
Talk soon. Bye.